Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the second episode of the Googly. After multiple failed attempts, 2 deleted episodes, we now sit here covering the South Africa and India match. If maybe this podcast is successful enough, one day we could probably release those as Patreon episodes. But right now, I think that's a little bit more than we can chew because we can barely get this shit covered. How are you tonight, Shash?
I am doing fantastic. It definitely is tonight. It's pretty much midnight. So yeah, we've been kind of delaying this all day until right now, but let's see how it goes. I'm really excited to talk about the match.
Champions.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Guys, we're on the road to becoming Australasia's biggest Indian cricket podcast. That was not a string of words you ever thought you were going to hear in your life, but now you are. So subscribe to the channel, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Reels, YouTube Shorts. You know everything. We're all Gen Z anyway. Well, Shash, how did it feel to get sworn in different languages such as Hindi and Urdu and English at the same time after talking about Pakistan's performance in the World Cup?
It was quite interesting, you know. We knew that they would get quite a bit of hate, but it was fun in a way, you know.
I enjoyed it. I was like, yes, I'm glad they didn't use English. You know, it's nothing like someone commenting your mother's genitalia in the morning. First thing, it's like, wow.
Yeah, you know, just waking up to that, it's bloody beautiful, eh?
Perfect.
From the mother tongue too.
It just gets you in the mood for the day. You know, blood is flowing through your veins, adrenaline's coursing. It's just you're ready to take the bull by its horns.
Well, I mean, it is cricket, right?
Absolutely. Starting on this series, Shash, did you know that this series with India, the South African Cricket Board is going to make so much money, it's actually going to recoup their losses for the last 3 years they've had. So they're going to make around 70 million.
I did actually know that. I mean, we were talking about it a little bit in the last podcast, just anticipating this series.
The deleted episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we deleted the episode, yes.
Okay. Well, yeah, you know, what a fantastic fact. And you know, that's absolutely absurd. You know, $60 million from basically
70.
2 games.
No, look, there's 3 T20s, I think, 2 ODIs, and 3 T20s, 3 ODIs, and 2 test games. So that, you know, they're playing about 8 to 9 games, so it's, you know.
Oh, okay. I mean, I thought you meant just with this T20.
No. So the South African tour, they're going to recoup essentially all of their money from the South African tour, so the South African Cricket Borders. Yeah.
Right. Fantastic. Well, you just made that so bloody awkward.
Oh, yeah, you're the one that wasn't replying, not my fault.
I mean, what was the pitch they played on today?
Yes, I think they played yesterday or the day before that. From what I can tell, it was a pretty standard pitch. It was rainy weather, so you know there was a bit of a Duckworth and Lewis that got brought into play. I know that's your first kind of instance of it. Yeah. You didn't watch the India and New Zealand match. I think the first time they played in, you know, they had DLS come into play then. New Zealand, Pakistan, and DLS, but. It's essentially a system of calculating a new target in a new number of balls to, you know, make sure that factors like weather and all this can be accounted for, to make sure the game is still played and to, you know, just not make a complete waste of the day.
Right. No, I mean, I thought it was an absolutely fantastic match, to be very honest.
Yeah.
I thought both teams had a pretty strong performance with quite a few outliers that I really didn't expect. Yeah, I mean, I know we're gonna have a big discussion about it today.
Oh, the Pakistanis are gonna love this episode today.
Yeah, you know, guys like, you know, Addy's in absolute, like, I don't even know what to call it, like in a shitting on mood on India today. I
love that country and I love those 11 players so much. So when they play with such
veracity.
That's a very good way. You haven't stolen the words out of my mouth, but that's a very good way to put it. When they play that way, it really breaks your heart as a fan. It really breaks your heart as someone who's seen these, you know, the men in blue play for so long, right? From the point of view as someone who knows the sport a little bit more technically, it's, you know, I don't really blame them. They've just come from a really, really, really big loss in the World Cup, so you can understand why they may have a little bit of a broken psychology. But, you know, I reckon it's done, dust it off, move on. There's another World Cup coming in June, and there's another, you're only world champions for about 6 months with the new roster the ICC's made, so dust yourself off, get ready, win the cup in June, win the cup in 25 in Pakistan. That hasn't been confirmed yet. If the BCCI gets pissed off enough, they'll shift it to UAE again. And
that's where the money is. That's where the money is, right?
Let's be real, and win it again in 26, win it again, and win the ultimate prize, as Rohit Sharma quoted it, I believe, today or yesterday, in 27. There's actually
what does that
some
mean?
talk
What do you
from
mean
Rohit
in
Sharma
27?
that he's going to play the 27 World Cup. He was referring to it as, as a child, you grow up and you watch 50 overs cricket, and you see that, that was kind of, and he dubbed it the ultimate prize.
The 27.
And sorry?
The 27.
No. The 50 over World Cup. Winning that is the ultimate prize in cricket, according to Rohit Sharma.
Right, the ODI.
The ODI World Cup, correct. 50 overs World Cup. So, because that's what they've grown up seeing, right? Gautam Gambhir shared a very similar point of view when he won his 2011 World Cup. And he actually said on record, he's like, I rate my 2011 performance a little bit higher than my 2007 one because I had just seen 50 over cricket growing up as a child. So I have a little bit of a special place for that 50 over game in my heart. So, in the interview at the end, it was, of course, after such a big loss, after such a huge tournament, after a really great campaign up till that last damn game, anyone would be as distraught. Us as fans are as distraught. So imagine how, how kind of poor the mental psyche of the Indian team is right now. So he was kind of going, I really don't know how to get over this. I didn't know what to do. It just, the day moves on, but it just didn't feel like that for me. And towards the end of that interview, he said that, he's going to try and he's going to go for another ultimate prize. And a lot of fans are speculating that he's going to try and stick around for the 27 Cup.
Wow, that's amazing. That would definitely be leaving a legacy and more more importantly for him. Yeah, I guess. And then, obviously that's a huge personal milestone for this guy. He's done a lot for the team and that's
Two
amazing.
double centuries.
Really?
True double centuries in international ODI cricket. He is on record going to be one of the greatest white baller crickets to ever have picked a bat up. When we see his records in, 5-10 years, we're going to go, shit, that guy was a freak. And you've got to understand,
insane.
right? The first kind of phase of his career, he was not the player we saw in that World Cup.
Right? No, that's what I've heard. He got a lot of hate, right?
Because he didn't perform consistently. He didn't play in the 2011 World Cup. He's been playing since 2008, I believe, though, for India internationally. So he's been around for a while.
Yeah.
He's been around for a while. Maybe 2008, I think I'm going a little bit too early, but he's been around for a while. He's played for more than a decade for the team. And, it's just, I believe he debuted before Kohli, before my king.
Yeah.
And, he is going to he has one of the most prolific careers after not being one of the, best batsmen at the start. Then he started opening and his just career skyrocketed from there.
Yeah, he turned it around. But let's bring it back to the game. And,
absolutely.
We spoke a little bit about Gill last week, and I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on Gill and Yashasvi as well, because they had a partnership to start the game off, right?
Well, what did you think of Gill?
Well, look, coming from the ODIs, I think he had some great shots. Obviously he's a very talented batsman when he wants to be. But honestly, he's been absolutely shocking the last few times that I've seen him, and it's just been disappointment after disappointment. I was really excited to see where he went after watching the India-Pakistan match, because I think he did a really good job in that game, right? And I don't know, man. I've just kind of been disappointed. I've been really disappointed. He didn't make a single run. It's sad. I hope he does better in Johannesburg.
Last time you mentioned something really great that I really like, saying, the reason the players are there are for batsmen to make mistakes and for bowlers to bowl really good bowls.
Yeah.
So there's no 100%. Point really commenting that, the batsman made a mistake. And after reviewing that bowl, and please, if anyone sees this and disagrees with me, comment down below. That really pushes for the algorithm. I am begging you to comment. But, I thought that bowl was quite standard. I thought it was a really quite average ball, and I thought there's no way, that was no way a magic delivery. That was something quite normal.
Yep.
And I think he just missed the ball. I think he made his mistake. And, like you said last time, that they're there to make mistakes. They're there to mess up, and they're there to get out. And the days they don't, that's why we tune in to watch the game, right?
Yep.
But I just feel that as good as Gil, as good as he can be, he just isn't as competitive as I think he needs to be. I think, if I think a lot of players got about half the chance he did. And I think they, not to say that he's not a good player at all. Shubham Gill is, one of the most talented players that's going to come. But I've been hearing that he's going to come for so long now. He's going to come up in the international scene and he's going to absolutely set it on fire. And the question begs to be asked, is he really as good as he's made out to be?
No, I mean, look, I understand where you're coming from with that. I don't know. At the end of the day, I do feel like he has a lot of hype behind him. Like, I see so many edits of this guy, like, everywhere. You know what I mean? And it's cringe, but it's facts, and I just expected a lot from him. I think, as you said, like, I didn't think that the ball was anything special. Like, I haven't seen too many, but it just kind of looked like a standard ball, right? I also do think that, obviously, 2 wickets in the first 5 balls for South Africa is fucking incredible.
They did really well.
And I cannot even imagine the kind of psychological triumph they felt before the game even started. Before an over was even finished. It's ridiculous. It really set them on a trajectory to be confident, to be grounded, to play it calm and composed. And I think that's what they did. They didn't take too many risks, apart from that run out, which we'll talk about later. But, I really laughed out loud at that. That was fucking hilarious. But yeah, I thought they did fantastic. And then, Yashasvi and Shubman, really set them off for success.
Look, I mean, I've got a few notes for Gil here. So if there's any stat or any note here that kind of catches you off guard, let me know. But in ODI cricket, approximately 62%, well, the statistic would have changed since I wrote this, since last night's game, but 62% of his wickets have come from being caught. 62% of his dismissals have come from being caught.
Wow.
Right, so the leg bowled is not as common as it is for someone like Gil. In memory, I don't remember the last time he was, he got out via LBW. And the way he plays is he has an aggressive arsenal and he has a defensive arsenal, and his playing style is an amalgam of both. And depending on the conditions, depending on where he is, and depending on how he needs to play, each stroke comes out, and depending on the ball, of course, and that is why he is as high rated as he is, because of how varied his shots are at such a young age, right? And one more thing that I think makes Shubham Gill something really, really, it makes him a really powerful player, is actually his stance. What we see in his game right now, and what he does is he actually stands a little bit back than what the conventional batsman stands, in today's game. And what that does is it allows the batsman to have more time. When you're going to watch, I really want you to do this next time you're watching a game of cricket. If you have the time, watch it, watch tonight's game. But I really want you to see how he bats. And I want you to compare, an opening partnership an opening partner, or open up an old game of another more seasoned batsman like Virat, or, another opener like Shikhar Dhawan or Rohit Sharma, and see where they stand and see where Gil stands. You're actually going to find that Gil looks like he has a little bit more time. Rohit also has, that's a really common compliment you're going to hear for Rohit as well. And you're going to see that they have a little bit more time, and they have a little bit, they have a fraction more of that second, because they're standing, a foot closer to the wickets.
Yeah.
Right?
They can time that bat a lot better. They can step in if they need to as well. It gives them space and time to actually react to the ball being played.
Exactly. And if needed, they can step on their back foot a lot easier. Right? So, and this is, I think, a change that, cricket is a game of instinct. Cricket is a game of hard training, of hard muscle memory. You need to make sure that these instincts are honed and ready to go.
Yeah.
Right? A second later, hitting a shot a second later could mean the difference between something going for 6 and something going for, being caught in the fielder's hands.
Yeah.
So when you have that extra second to look at the ball and react, that actually goes a very long way in kind of setting you apart from a lot of different batsmen. So the conversation of him, about is he overrated? I don't think he's overrated, but I don't think he is the batsman who he wants to be at the moment either. You know,
Yeah.
everyone wants to go out there and win games for their country, but I really do think that he, in T20s at least, needs to go back to the drawing board. He has some really great knocks. I'm not denying that. He's made hundreds through, 200 strike rates. There is no denial about that. He is the youngest player to have a double century. He has got some impeccable records to his name. But how long are we going to kind of use his records to justify a relatively lackluster performance from him in the last 3 to 4 months? And, a question needs to be had about his form, saying, are you really there to create a long partnership with the opening batsman, or are you there for a quick fire 30-40 from a 200 strike rate and for your anchors to then take the game deep? And I think there's just no clarity around that from a fan's perspective. So, that question I think also needs to be raised a little bit further.
Wow. I mean, I thought that was really insightful. I didn't know, first of all, that he was the youngest player to make a double century. That's amazing. That's a huge milestone. I am curious though, because
I think youngest player, youngest Indian player, one of the two.
Right. I mean, look, either way, I am curious as to why he hasn't been performing. Is it the pressure? Is it like the media pressure? Is it the fan pressure? Is it the fact that, people expect so much from him and he just absolutely crumbles under that? Is it just the fact that he's just in a bad patch at the moment? Like, I mean, what is it? Because he looked like he was in form kind of during the ODIs, right?
Yes. Look, before we say that, just to confirm, it was Shubham Gill that's the youngest player to make a double century. But, going on to your question, Shash, it's just, to be really honest with you, man, I have no clue. I can sit here and go, what he gets back home from the media is crazy. I don't think the media is very harsh on him, to be really honest with you. I think he's given quite a lot of accolades in that regard where, he's set to be the next. I think the media's quite kind on him.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's pressure. I do think it's just maybe a lean patch. Maybe he's trying to recalibrate. Maybe he's not used to playing 3 different formats all at the same time, all at once, right?
That's tough.
He started off with Test cricket. Now he's playing T20 cricket. And you've got to understand, right? A lot of the batsmen that we're seeing right now are not used to 200 strike rates. A lot of them play really similar to how anchors play, where they, start off, take their time to get set in their crease, and then they kind of launch once they know they're set and they've taken the game deep for their team. There's this really key criticism, and not criticism. There's this really key difference between English, Australian, and Indian batsmen and batsmen from the subcontinent, where you're going to see an English batsman, when they want to leave a ball, they're going to pick the bat up and they're going to deflect it through their body. If there's a ball that an Indian batsman does not want to play, they will block it with their bat. And it's just basic things like this, right? A lot of grassroots Indian coaching tells you to, really get your bat on the ball. And actually, that's how you're kind of informed, and you've got a certain amount of balls in, and you're mentally, once you're there, you feel like you've got it. And maybe it's just that. Maybe he just hasn't spent enough time. Maybe it's just, hey, juice this, kind of do that, try this, try that. When he used to play under 19 cricket, he used to play number 3. He was an anchor, right? So maybe it's just different training, warring all at him, all at once. So that question really, I think I have no answers to, but I think at the same time, he doesn't have answers to, because I don't think he's doing as terribly as, me and you are talking about. But I do think he needs to pick the slack up when the pressure hits. I think under the big moments, you want to win the game so bad for your country that you start to overthink your game. And I'm not going to say he's never played a crunch knock. One of the most famous Indian wins was in 2019-2020 series to Australia at the Gabba. I've told you glories about that game, but I don't think you understand the vicissitudes and how kind of difficult that game was to win for India, right?
What kind of word is vicissitudes? What does that even mean?
I don't think people understand the waves that game created.
Okay.
Right?
A cultural shift.
A cultural shift where you had no established player. You had Rohit Sharma in the team, and he is not a test player.
Yeah.
He plays in the test squad, but he's not a test player per se. He got out. He was an early wicket. It was Shubman Gill that took a knock of 91 and got India into a place where they could actually chase a target down.
Yeah.
Pujara stood there and he played the anchor's role that game, but it was Rishabh Pant and it was Shubman Gill that scored the runs that day. So there's no argument that I can possibly give you to say that he can't play under pressure. However, I do think that maybe there's a sway from his game. Maybe something's going on mentally. Maybe, there's just some sort of change in training, some sort of change in form that's causing him to play the way he is. But to be really blunt with you, I'm not impressed with his form for the last 6 months or so.
Shit, man. Well, look, I didn't know that you were like that unimpressed with him for the last 6 months. I think, I'm really excited to see how he does in Johannesburg because I think you told me that he knows those conditions a little bit better. So, let's see how he goes tonight. But look, I mean, I want to bring you to Surya Yadav, right? And I know we shat on him a little bit in the last week. But wow, dude. I mean, he made a milestone in his half-century count in T20s. I think he did a fantastic job. He had some beautiful shots and a great partnership with Tilak too. I was really surprised with the way that Tilak played. I don't think he played in the last T20 with Australia, but I was really impressed. I thought they had a fantastic partnership. Say that again?
I thought both Tilak and Surya Yadav did really well, to be honest.
No, 100%. I think in this game, I really got a look at Yadav's style and how he does have more shots to play than just the uppercut. Is that what it's called? An uppercut?
No, it's called Supla shot.
It's called the sky shot.
Supla.
Sky shot.
Supla shot.
Is that the actual name?
Yeah, that's what he calls it. I'm pretty sure he calls it the Supla shot.
Wow.
Supla. Sky is a very experienced campaigner. And people don't give him credit for that. He's played in the domestic circuits and he's played in the IPL for so very long that him making that transition to the Indian team was, no doubt it took effort, but not as big a deal as people make it out to be. But, last time, just to give the viewers, the 20 people that see the podcast, including my mum. Hi, Mum. Hi, Shashwat's mum. But for a little bit more context for the viewers, the thing about, we were discussing about Sky and, why is he as high rated as he is? And Shash had certain questions about, his performance. And he wasn't really impressed with him coming out of the World Cup. And he wasn't really, he didn't see anything to really overturn that as grand as, as what we make it out to be in that Australia series. So he was a little bit puzzled as to why he has the reputation he does. And I think that's changed a little bit after this game.
Oh, 100%. It's changed. I really saw some great technique. I think him and Tilak both had some really nice helicopter shots, and they're still really novel to me. You know what I mean? Like, I just think they look so cool. The way they just flick it, and they just it's a very skilled shot. Using the pace of the ball to really get those boundaries as well. And I don't know
who came up with that shot?
Googly.
Thala! MS Dhoni, number 7.
Oh wow!
Chennai fans assemble. Smash that like button. Anything for the likes.
But no, yeah, I was very, very, very impressed, and it's a shame that both of those guys were caught out. Maybe just giving it a bit too much air, I guess. But I don't know. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic partnership from both of them.
I think the boundaries of this game were just a little bit more wide than, what you're really accustomed to in South Africa. We were talking about Johannesburg earlier. It's got a smaller boundary, and I think the conditions suit Asian players a little bit more because they're just a little bit more used to those conditions, and that's what suits it more just for you, Shash.
No, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And just sort of moving on a little bit from that, I thought Tilak did a great job. He was a little bit short-lived, but he did great. And then when Rinku came in, there's no question about it, right? I mean, Rinku did bloody amazing. What a player.
Yes.
What a player. We were talking about him last week, and we're going to talk about him again. I think we're going to be talking about him a lot on this podcast because, goddamn, my guy's got a jawline akin to the Greek gods. You know what I mean? Akin to that meme. The handsome Squidward meme? It's like that shit. You know what I mean? And, oh my goodness, bro. What a player. What an absolute player.
I told you last time, Rinku Singh Rinku Singh's story, right? And how kind of poor a house he came from, right? And I think to come from that and to, you know, have your father and your brothers all kind of work for, you know, a CNG or a gas company. The accommodation that I believe Rinku Singh lived in at one point in Aligarh, his company provided for him.
Wow.
So, to be really honest with you, Shash, he's an absolute inspiration. He's an absolute inspiration to me. There are times, you know, where I look at his story, I read it, and I revel at it. Him and Jaiswal's as well. I'll tell you Jaiswal's in a little bit. I'm very sure you don't know about that.
I don't.
And I really think, in hindsight, I think having that sort of conditions and that sort of upbringing that's really quite tough keeps him really kind of calm and composed, right? Because once you've seen that sort of lifestyle, even if you do okay, you know, he's done well in the IPL. Financially, he's sorted for the rest of his life, right? Once you see those sort of conditions, I think nothing phases you. Virat Kohli had very similar conditions, not in terms of poverty, but his father died at a very young age.
Yeah.
Right? And Delhi was about to lose the game domestically for Virat Kohli. And as you know, in Indian last rites, it's one of the most important things to make sure that your whole family's there, especially, you know, the men of the household. And Virat Kohli told his family not to cremate his father until he gets back. He not won the game, but he made sure that Delhi did not lose that game, and then he came home and performed his last rites for his father. So, similarly with Rinku Singh, you know, once you've seen that sort of mental state, that develops a different level of mental strength, I believe. And it's just nothing phases you. You know, I'm getting very, you know, genuinely goosebumps right now thinking of both of those stories. And they, you know, him, Kohli, Jaiswal are such big inspirations in my life. And, you know, it's just, it really makes you believe if they can do it, and if they can do it through conditions that were, invariably harder than what I'm facing right now, why can't I? Jaiswal was homeless most of his life.
Really?
He used to sell food at a street vendor's stall to make money, golgappe, chaatwala. And that's how he started. You know, he used to live in a tent next to a pitch so he could play cricket and watch.
That's insane.
He, you know, there's a conversation about Jaiswal's form not being able, you know, Jaiswal and Tilak, I feel, at the moment at least, are playing quite superficially, where they're just not able to capitalize on those opportunities. Tilak not so much, but Jaiswal especially, and really take it to big scores. We know Jaiswal can make really big scores. We've seen him. He did that on debut at his test game. So, you know, maybe it's that same argument to be made with Gill, where you're accustomed to playing in a certain style and now you're kind of backtracking and changing that. But to say that Jaiswal can't play fast is absolute garbage. The boys made 50 runs in the IPL, which is the IPL is more competitive to get into than the World Cup. I will say it can be harder to play in the IPL than it is to play in the World Cup. He has made 50 runs in 13 balls there.
Bruh?
13 balls.
That is incredible. That's a strike rate, man.
So, you know, it's that same conversation with Tilak and with Jaiswal. These players are obviously very talented, but I just don't think they've been able to find the sort of patch to get them into those really big scores. And I think they're craving something, and it's right around the corner for him, for Gill, and for, you know, Verma. But I think it's high time it came. And, you know, Rinku Singh is kind of the opposite to that, where I dare say, in nearly any game he's played, he's gotten so close to his 50 so convincingly that I was really quite shocked to hear that the game that we saw, that was his first 50. I thought he had made a few before.
Really? Was that his first 50?
Exactly, right? His first big stint in international cricket, he won a game. He chased 31 runs down off 6 or 5 balls, I believe. That same tournament, he constructed and crafted a really long innings, similar to what he did today. Rinku Singh, I believe, is the player of, he is the future of Indian cricket in regards to that he can smash a ball out of the park for 6, but when he needs to, he can craft an innings. He thinks. There was one shot he played in the Australia series where he just kind of flicked it off, towards the kind of offside of the boundary. And it was smart cricketing. It wasn't a glorious slap of the ball where he slaps it out for 6. He can do that, and he's very well aware that he can do that. But he uses his brain, and that's why one of my favorite things about him, where he doesn't play mindless shots. He's not trying to hit every single ball for 6, but he keeps the strike moving. He keeps slapping the ball for 4s. He finds boundaries, and when he needs to, he can win a game. He can win 12 runs off 2 balls. He can win 5 runs, 6 runs off 1 ball. There's comparisons made to him and Mahendra Singh Dhoni. I dare say right now, let's backtrack a little bit, and it's that same thing. Let's stop putting these tags on young players. Let them develop their own game. Before, Prithvi Shaw was touted out to be the next Sachin Tendulkar. I'll tell you about Prithvi Shaw in a little bit. Gill is said to be the next Virat Kohli. Jaiswal is said to play a lot like Rohit Sharma. Why not let these players play their own way? Let them develop their own style. Let them make their own mistakes, Obviously, move it on. You don't want to make too long a mistake. Come on, boys. But let's not put these tags on these players. And, it's that same thing with Rinku. Let's not put the tag of the finisher and of this or of that. He can do any role. He can play any damn batting role in a team at this point. He can craft an innings when needs. He can finish a game off if required. Right? This is the sort of intent we need to see. I dare say if Rinku had the strike rather than Jadeja in that last over, India potentially could have had another 12 runs on the board, and I think that just maybe would have put them ahead in DLS.
Wow. I think that's fair enough, and just a few things. First of all, what you said just now sounds like a pencil advert. I remember watching in India. It's like, oh, you can be the next Einstein. You can be the next Newton. No, I want to be the next me. I want to be the first me. And then you're absolutely right. The more we compare them to previous legends or people who've left a big legacy in the game or in the sport, the less are actually given the space to develop their own game and their own persona. I think what I've noticed from Rinku Singh is exactly as you said. He's a very strategic player. He understands his place in the order, and he plays accordingly to that. It depends on how the people have done before him. In this game, it was pretty average, right? I mean, in the grand scheme of things. And I guess he decided to go for the long game, right? And he did fantastic. He didn't move too fast, I guess, but
I thought his strike rate was pretty decent as well. Like how much did he make? I think 68 off how many balls? It was around 50 something. 39 balls.
Yeah,
68 of 39 balls. That's a very impressive strike rate, in my opinion.
Strike rate 174. That's
fantastic. Not as bad. Exactly.
Not out, right? I don't know. I was very, very impressed with him. And then, you were talking about Jaiswal's story. You were talking about Jaiswal's story. I'm gobsmacked, like just rags to fucking riches kind of story. And you don't see that too often. Often the best players often the players with the most potential have that kind of story, that kind of come up. And look, man, I mean, he's translated from making golgappe to playing cricket. I'm sure he's got magic in his hands. I wonder if he made good chart. What do you think?
Sorry?
I wonder if he made good chart.
I mean, come on. I think... look, man. Look, but a lot of these players, I think that just gives them the sort of mental strength to play well. Rohit Sharma, we don't really talk about him, but he sold milk to get his first cricket kit.
Wow. You should write a book. You should write a book about, all these people's stories.
What do you think the Googly is, ladies and gentlemen?
No, man. Look, that's amazing. I think I mentioned Jadeja before. I think he did very mid. He did very mid, bro. I'm not gonna lie. So sorry for changing the subject so abruptly, but Jadeja did very mid to me. I was looking forward to seeing what he would do. But fuck, like I was left so disappointed. Jitesh isn't even worth talking about, I guess, in a way, right? But Jadeja did really mid in this game to me, man. I'm not gonna lie.
Look, Jadeja's a big match player. He doesn't I typically have seen him perform really well in the really biggest, occasions, except for that damn final. But still, I thought he played kind of okay. So Jadeja plays. He makes a difference. He's that kind of thorn that people expect is going to be there, but just doesn't come out. And there's where he doesn't come out. There's days where, he does perform, and he performs so well that he'll clean up 8 wickets. He'll catch, he'll take 3 catches. So, at this point, questioning Jadeja is just a waste of breath. It's a waste of words, to be really honest with you.
He's a low-key guy.
But he's a low-key guy. He's not low-key, but I think his form speaks for himself. He's low-key in some regards, yes. But the thing about Jadeja is that he does perform when the team needs him to perform.
Except, and anyway.
Except in the fight. No. Look, all jokes aside, Jadeja is he's a magnificent spinner. He's a magnificent batsman. I don't want to show you replays because I know how much you kind of dislike watching replays. You want to see games that are in the current. I really think you're going to see a very different Jadeja when it comes to the Test series, because India has quite an appalling record when it comes to Test series in South Africa. I think, from memory, I don't think India has won a Test series in South Africa.
Wow.
So I think when the Test series come around, I think you're going to see a very different Jadeja.
Okay. Hey, well, look, I'm really excited to see that. I've had a lot of stuff about him. He seems like a fantastic all-rounder. I guess it's just a very, not standout performance in that game today. But let's see. I'm really excited to see this. This is obviously the first T20 that I've seen with him in it, I think, because he wasn't in the game last time, was he?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think they're kind of warming.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think they're kind of warming the primary squad a little bit more, while they're still trying to see which new players fit where. I wouldn't be surprised if Gill was subbed for the next game for Ruturaj Gaikwad. Not to say that Ruturaj is taking his position in the team. I think Gill's very clearly made that's proved that one of the opening positions is his spot right now. But I really do believe that they're going to rest Gill maybe. If Gaikwad is subject to fitness, of course. If he's there, they're going to get Gaikwad in the mix, see how he goes with this sort of, these sort of players. But how do you think Virat and Rohit would have done in this squad with a lot of these new players?
I have no idea. I don't know very much about those two. I know a little bit, but I don't know very much about them. At the end of the day, I don't know their history with T20s. I think didn't Virat used to be the T20 captain, or am I
Virat used to be the captain
tripping?
for all 3 formats.
Oh, really?
He used to be the captain for all 3 formats for a very long time. I don't remember. He was first given the captaincy for Test. Then it was, I think, a year or 2 years after that it was Test and ODI together. He was a very good captain, but it's just he wanted to leave the T20 captains, and the BCCI didn't want someone who separate captain for the ODI squad, the separate captain for the T20 squad, and the separate captain for the Test squad. ODI, he didn't want to leave the ODI captaincy, and that caused the kind of rift between the BCCI and Virat Kohli, getting him to be ousted from white ball cricket and to remain captain as the red ball, remain captain as red ball. And he left the red ball captaincy. I am not too sure why. There's rumors circulating about that, but I don't want to perpetuate those.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was a very talented captain in regards to that. So I don't think he would have had any trouble blending in with new players, with new kids. I don't think Rohit would have either. As you know, Virat plays the anchoring role. Up until the India-Australia series that happened after the World Cup, Virat had the highest T20 international score ever. And he is considered to not be a very good T20 player, which I think is absolute garbage. But it's that same kind of reputation where he takes time to get set, but then once he gets going, he gets going. You've seen Rohit Sharma in form. You've seen Rohit Sharma make those really big knocks, play those captain's innings. So there's, nothing I can say about Rohit more than what I've said at the start. But Virat, I think, really is an exceptional T20 player, and there's rumors about him not being included for the squad that's going to the USA and West Indies in June, and I think that would be an obnoxiously grave error. Because I think consistently we've seen that India in the knockout games does not perform well. And there's always a few early wickets. And I think to not have Virat there to take the team out of that position, so someone like Rinku Singh can come in and find the boundaries and let Virat get into his own game, and while he plays his own game, I think could be one of... I think, if Rohit and Virat, two players that are kind of not being eyed potentially for this World Cup, if they're not on the squad, I think that could be one of the biggest mistakes we make at the moment. But, they said this in 2007 when the squad didn't include big names like Tendulkar, didn't include big names like Dravid, and they won the World Cup that year, the first T20 World Cup, so maybe I'm talking a bunch of shit. We'll get to know in about 6 months' time.
No, fair enough, man. I think Rinku and Rohit might even have a very similar style in a way. At least from what it appears to me from watching Rinku play for a very short amount of time. I think Rinku and Virat could make a very good partnership. Rinku and Virat could make a very good partnership if Virat was to play. So, I don't know. I'm really excited to see where Rinku's career goes. And, I don't understand why he's not getting more push in the media, I guess. Look, I obviously the algorithm only pushes out so much content.
Yeah, we know about that.
Yeah, so I don't know. I've been seeing a lot of stuff about Gill, not very much about Rinku. I think maybe I've got to do my own research on Rinku and sort of figure him out. But he's wow.
The question I have for you, Shash, is then if we were to put Rinku in the primary squad, whose position does he take?
In the ODIs?
ODI, Test, T20, all three formats.
Wow.
He's number 5 player right now. Does he, does the BCCI go, does Rahul Dravid and team go, hey, you've done really well in this position, let's pick you up and put you right there. But then does that mean changing KL Rahul's position or entirely dropping him out of the team?
I thought KL had some pretty good matches, didn't he? I thought KL had some pretty good matches. Maybe Gill, man. I'm not going to lie. Maybe sit Gill out for a little while and see how Rinku performs, because I think that this guy has a lot of passion. He has a lot of passion, and he's got the jawline of Zeus. And I'm going to keep on bringing that up. Dude, have you seen his face? He looks like Steve.
He's got a jawline that can cut diamonds.
It literally does, bro. He looks like Steve from Minecraft, That's like the first thing I thought of when I saw the guy. But
there's a lot of memes on that, actually.
Really?
Yeah. Like this, that's a very common kind of
comparison. I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I was really just to move it a little bit to South Africa, because before we do that, actually, please let's talk about Arshdeep, because he's 24. I think he's a young player. I think you told me that the other day. And you said, wow, he's a fantastic talent. He's coming up with his bowling and stuff. And I don't know. Look, every game is different, right? I know that. And I understand that some people are just going to have off days, or the condition, there's a lot of factors that come into play in a strategic game like this. But fuck, man, I was disappointed again from Arshdeep. I really wanted to see him show up. And he didn't really do anything. He just kind of came and went, like Vultures by Kanye. Shit came and it just went, it's
easy sit. No. Look, I was disappointed in Arshdeep, not in his bowling. He's an excellent bowler. We know that. That there's no question. But to get to that level, you need to be an excellent bowler. I was really disappointed in Arshdeep in his fielding today. When the game happened.
He dropped a few, didn't he?
He dropped a few, and there was a few balls that he should have stopped. And his fielding is something that has been a question previously in the T20 Asia Cup. I was telling you about this last time. I don't want to say he exclusively cost us the game, but he was a big contribution in India losing a game to Pakistan, because he dropped a wicket of the person who I think gave the final runs, or the partnership that gave the final runs. The wicket that India needed, that was in Arshdeep's hands, and he dropped. that very iconic photo of Rohit Sharma screaming is from that photo.
No.
Yep.
Fuck.
So his fielding has been a question in the past, and I was very disappointed in his fielding.
What's up with
I
him?
hate-
Like, what is actually up? Like, look, I know the ball. I'm sorry to interrupt. I know the ball is moving a lot faster than it looks on the telly, right? I know that, but use your legs. Like, you have legs for a reason.
No, look,
He just kind of like half jogs it from what I remember. It's like, what's your problem?
I really hate to say this to players, and I really hate to give this intent, because no one, even you, if I put you in the Indian squad, you wouldn't want to be the person that loses that game for India.
Yeah,
Right?
that would fucking suck.
But I really hate saying this, and I probably shouldn't, but I'm going to say it regardless. He looked lethargic. He looked like there was a lack of intent. And, you know, I hate to do this again, but you compare these players to Googly and you compare these players to Rohit, and I'm not commenting about drop catches. Look, drop catches can happen. It's part of the game.
Yeah.
I'm talking about fielding, running for the ball, stopping runs is what I'm commenting on.
Giving
You
it a
are
shot.
never going to see Rohit Sharma, or you're never going to see Virat Kohli not giving 120% to stop a ball. You're never going to see KL Rahul not absolutely bending his hamstring just to get that damn ball that's 6 meters lateral to his left, right? Surya Yadav is an exceptional fielder. You're never not going to see him trying to run and make opportunities in the field. And these players are young. Why is their fielding not up to mark? Mukesh Kumar's fielding I wasn't happy with, right? You said you were disappointed at Arshdeep. Why were you disappointed with him? Was it the fielding?
I think it was the fielding, definitely. And it was just kind of disappointing. But it was a lot of the bowling as well. Like, he's a pace bowler, isn't he?
He pace and swing.
Yeah, I thought
Maybe
he had
seam, I'm not sure. Keep on going, though.
Look, I think he had some great bowls, right? But I just didn't see anything that was extraordinary, I guess.
Yep.
I don't know what I expect when I say extraordinary. I guess I expect a Bumrah or a Siraj even. But
No, look,
or
let me
Shami,
make this
right?
exceptionally clear to you. Bumrah, Siraj, and Shami are one of the greatest bowlers. Well, all three of them are some of the greatest bowlers you're going to ever see that have ever picked a ball up. By the way, Arshdeep is a left arm medium fast bowler. He can do swing from what I have seen, but I could be wrong here, right? And some people say he's more of a swing bowler, but, you know, he can move the ball sideways. So, you know, I'd say he's more a swing, but...
Adi, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Let me ask you a question, right? What is the point of being a medium fast bowler? It's like, you're not like an expert at swing. You're not an expert at spin. You're not an expert at the Googly. You're not an expert at a Yorker. You're not an expert at doing fast balls. You're not an expert at doing slow balls. You're just like right down the bloody middle. Like, that's mid. Isn't that literally the definition of mid?
Okay.
Like, and just
So
nothing
we've
special, just
classified
completely
Arshdeep
standing in.
as a medium pacer, right?
What's his USP? Like, what is it with him?
USP, I haven't heard that word in years, Shash. You can never convince me that you're an Englishman after that, saying that.
What is
Okay,
it, though?
so-
What is it?
You know, we talk about Arshdeep being a medium pacer, right? What do you think medium means, Shash?
I think it's 130. I think that's around 130, right?
130, 140,
Yeah.
right? I dare say that shouldn't even be medium. That should be fast bowling. A lot of Bumrah's balls are at that speed. But the thing about 131, he can swing it. That's why he's in the team, and he's quite exceptional because he is really good at the death. He doesn't give runs. That's the one thing about Arshdeep. He may not take wickets as brutally as you know, Shami can, or as Bumrah can, but this guy can defend scores, and that's why he's in the team. You can build teams around him. Like I said, you know, for Ravi Bishnoi, expert of the Googly, he gives the captain that freedom to build a team around him. That, hey, look, I've got 1 over dedicated for this guy at the end, where if I have 10 runs that need to be saved in a 6-ball over, my boy Arshdeep can save it for me. So, and we say 130, 140 is a medium ball. What's the point of a medium pacer? Well, it's that same thing like I told you in the first episode. Variation is key. Cricket is a game of training. You do anything to break a batsman's concentration and to break away from that training, you are most likely going to get their wicket.
You've got to break the pattern.
Break the pattern. And the thing about medium paces is, right, medium I say with that, let's say he's bowling 130 consistently, you get used to his speed. You drop a 110 or you drop a 120. All of a sudden, the batsman's accepting a ball to come at a certain rate. He swings a lot earlier than he should, and boom, it's bowled.
I get that. Well, look, let's see how it goes tomorrow. I think, Adi, just to bring it back, just to bring it back a little bit, I appreciate that specialty from Arshdeep, the ability to stay consistent, to vary it up a little bit in the micro side of it, I understand why that's valuable, so thank you for explaining that. But bringing it back, how do you think that India would have done without Siraj on the bowling side?
I reckon.
And also, where was Bishnoi this game?
That's really weird. There've been questions about Bishnoi. He's currently ranked the number 1 T20 bowler, so there's a real conversation of why Bishnoi isn't in the team. I'm not sure where he is. I'll give a quick call to my boy Dravid and Surya. Ask them where Bishnoi was. But Sky. My apologies.
Jesus.
Sorry, Mumbai Indians fans. Like karo. Look, I'm not sure where Bishnoi is. I think maybe they subbed him out for Kuldeep this game, who can bowl a very similar kind of line length style to him. Maybe it was that. Maybe it was just they wanted to rest Bishnoi for the last game that's coming up. Not too sure about Bishnoi, to be really honest with you. Siraj, I think if Siraj wasn't there, I reckon the game would have been finished by the 13th or 14th over. Maybe I dare say the 12th.
It would have been that bad.
Really, Siraj is a damn hard person to play with. He can just swing it, right? When he has his off days, he has his off days. There were days in the World Cup where it looked like, why is this guy in blue? Why is he representing India? But then he has games like he did in South Africa where he was unplayable for the overs that he played. And he scored the scoring rate down enough. And, if India had an extra 10, 20 runs, maybe Siraj could have made the difference at the end. But no point living in maybes. Siraj, I think if he wasn't there, to answer your question, Shash, I think India wouldn't have South Africa would have finished the game in about 13, 12 overs, I dare say.
Yeah. Wow. I think you're right. Siraj seems to be a very difficult player to bat against. And he did. I feel like I agree with you. He did have some off days during the ODI, so I was very pleased to see his fantastic performance in this game, and I'm excited to see what he does tomorrow.
In the Asia Cup final, he batted Sri Lanka all out for how much? He bowled them out for how much? It wasn't all him, but I believe 8 wickets went to him that day. What was Sri Lanka's final score when they got all out?
99.
Make a guess. This is an
99?
ODI game, by the way.
Oh,
50 over game, not a T20 game.
99.
This game happened before the World Cup.
99.
50.
Huh? Bullshit. They made 1 run and over?
They didn't last 50 overs.
Fuck. And Siraj was responsible for that? I mean, 8 wickets.
Siraj was responsible for that.
When was this again?
Single-handedly, right? I'm not even going to say, someone else. Single-handedly, Siraj got that. And he created so much pressure on them.
Fuck. When was this game?
Let's check the exact date. This was the final of the Asia Cup, so this was before the World Cup started. But
2021.
Oh, no, it was this year. Before the World Cup,
Literally 2023.
Yeah, like this was 17th of September. So Sri Lanka lasted 15.2 overs. India chased this in 6.1 overs.
Wow. Bro.
Sorry. So Siraj took 7 wickets. He was player of the match. He gave away 21 runs only. I was actually quite disappointed in his performance, to be honest. How dare you give nearly 50% of the runs of a game? It's terrible bowling from Siraj. It's just not good enough. You look at Jasprit Bumrah, right? He gave away 23 runs that game. Just not good enough. Just not good enough. How can you give 23 runs away and give nearly 50% of the game? I can't even laugh about this. It was shockingly good. That performance.
That's insane, bro. Look, I do think, Addy, that South Africa, I mean, let's move to South Africa for a little bit, because we haven't really spoken about South Africa in this particular game.
It was 6 wickets for Siraj, not even 7. But yes, South Africa.
So, I haven't seen South Africa play it properly, right? So a lot of these players I was newly introduced to in this match, And just one thing I noticed right off the bat is they were very consistent, right? Maybe that was a lack of consistency on the Indian bowling side. But, you look at India's scorecard and it's just, you have basically 3 players, Rinku, Varma, Yadav, who made like the bulk of those runs. Maybe Jadeja.
It was Rinku and Sky versus South Africa.
Exactly. I think we spoke about this a little bit earlier today as well. It was Rinku and Yadav versus South Africa. But, you look at South Africa's scorecard and it's fairly consistent, apart from Hendricks, who really did great. It was an even spread. But I have to say, I do have a favorite. And I think that's Markram. I don't know why.
Okay.
His style
He was the captain of the side, I believe.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, look, his style really speaks to me. He didn't have an amazing strike rate. It's obviously not as good as Britsky's or Hendricks's. But
Spell Britsky's name. Spell it without looking at all.
I've literally got it in front of me. I'm gonna get it right. But yeah. I was watching the highlights today, and it was in Hindi, and I'm like, what the fuck does this say? Like, I had no idea that this is how you would spell it. But look, I really liked Markram's style. I thought he had a fantastic style, and he's not a half bad bowler either, right?
Sorry?
He's not half bad a bowler.
From what we've seen, yeah, he can, he gives runs away, but he can take wickets. He did for this game. These players are deadly.
Yeah.
South Africa's batting, I think, goes down to 6 or 7. And not bad batting. Batting that can change the course of the game goes down till 7. Right? We talk about the previous captain, Temba Bavuma, not being the best of batsmen or not having the greatest form. His domestic record is prolific. It's the same with these South African batsmen. South African just has this habit of producing batsmen that can hit the ball and play under pressure knocks, make big runs in very little balls. You haven't seen this man play, but it used to be a player called A.B. de Villiers.
Yeah,
you must have heard something of him.
I've heard a lot about this guy. Apparently he's fantastic, isn't he? He's one of the greatest batsmen ever.
Ever, right? Yeah. Before him, South African, there's always just been 1 or 2 players that come from South Africa that have just wowed. Before it was, before AB, it was Jacques Kallis, right? He's an all-rounder. But if you look at his bowling, he looks like one of the greatest bowlers. If you look at his batting, he looks like one of the greatest batsmen of all time.
Just a fantastic athlete.
And he was just a fantastic athlete. That's a very good way of putting things, right? So, yeah, look, man, South Africa, I think looking at South African batting, David Miller did really well. I was, looking forward to Miller.
Bro, he had it. Okay, and just to add on to what I was saying earlier, Markram and Miller really stood out to me the most. I think Hendricks I actually completely forgot. Oh no, he was written as Reza on the board. He did great. Britsky was just, oh my goodness, that was a shame, wasn't it? I wanted to see what he actually did.
If you look at what he got out on, he played 16 runs from 7 balls.
Yeah.
Right. He had a strike rate of 228.57, from which 1 6 and 1 4 came. Right?
It's mental.
Markram had a strike rate of the lowest strike rate here is 116 from Tristan Stubbs.
And that's not
who
even that
still
bad.
had
He made two
true
boundaries. Yeah.
fours.
Yeah.
Sorry?
I just said he had 2 boundaries.
Yeah, he's had 2 boundaries as well, right? South Africa is just, and Marco Jansen still had to come in. If Marco Jansen came in, I reckon this game wouldn't have lasted as long as it did. And I from memory, I don't think Tristan Stubbs was actually trying to score as many runs. I believe from memory, he was just trying to rotate the strike with Andil. I'm not even going to try and pronunciate his last name. But South Africa is just at that position where their bowling did well, their batting did well. Shamsi, I thought, did really well in terms of bowling. He was spinning the ball at the start, and maybe Shamsi, maybe there wasn't enough for the bowlers when, the kind of atmosphere settled in and it started to rain in the second half of the game. But, a lot of the people in the comments really quite spoke to us about the pitch and the conditions there, and it kind of, there was one comment that said, if you're in an international team, you should be taking wickets regardless of what the conditions are. And I do agree to that to some extent. So I'm not going to blame it all on the pitch. I think, the Indian bowling side needed to step up today. But I think South Africa played both batting and bowling exceptionally well. Right? You look at the South African bowling, you look at what, you look at what Jansen did. You look at what Williams did. You look at what Coetzee did specifically, right? Coetzee had he had quite a great World Cup as well, right? Shamsi only took 1 wicket, but he looked like he was dangerous that night.
Who's Coetzee?
So Coetzee right now is one of the swing bowlers from South Africa.
Right.
So he's got that. He's a right-hand bowler. He bowls pace. He got Jadeja out, I think. He got Jadeja out yesterday. And, he had a very prolific kind of send-off to Jadeja going, think about which shot you play. I want to see what Jadeja does to him in the next game because he is quite a spirited player that way, Jadeja.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, no, Coetzee's a very, very talented bowler at the moment. A lot of people are really quite, rating him quite highly at the moment. I think for Coetzee, there needs to be a little bit more before we can make general conclusions, but, overall, he's a right-arm fast bowler.
Okay. Just before we wrap up for this game, I want you to talk to me a little bit. I'm absolutely obsessed. I'm sorry. I know I've brought this up a couple of times. But that Britsky run out was fucking hilarious to me, man. Like, I was like, no way, this has actually happened, bro. Talk to me a little bit about it, please.
You'd think that happens. You'd think that happens quite rarely in international cricket, but you'll see the majority of runouts happen exactly in that fashion, where there's a miscommunication between the 2 batsmen. One runs and the other isn't willing to give his wicket up, and the other just gets bowled. You're going to see, right? Britsky didn't even bother running, because he knew there's just no way it's going to happen. And there was actually a miscommunication from India's fielding, where they threw the ball to the wrong side of the damn crease. Jadeja had to take the ball and throw it back to the other side to get the wicket, right? So it's just miscommunications like that can really break the momentum of the game. But if you're going to see a lot of the kind of classic runouts happen exactly in that fashion. The day I believe Rohit made his second double century, Virat Kohli got out the exact same way.
Really?
Where it's always going to be that. It's always going to be that. Very rarely you're going to see a genuine run out where the batsman did not make it to the crease. Well, you are going to see it, and it's going to keep increasing because people tend to take that risky single now a lot more than they did, 5-10 years ago. But a lot of the most classic runouts that you'll see, if you watch highlights of the sport, are going to be that exact same thing where one batsman came. He said to take the strike, in the India-Australia game, the first game, Ruturaj Gaikwad got dismissed for the exact same reason, where Jaiswal told him to run, didn't give him the strike, told him to go back, and there was just no way for Ruturaj to make the distance.
Wow, man. Fair enough. I mean, just to confirm, because maybe I'm remembering it wrong, I thought Britsky was the one who ran, and then Friso was the one who stayed, because Britsky was the one who got run out, right?
Yeah, no, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, yeah, bro. Like, I didn't know that. That kind of communication. Like, didn't Riza see that his partner has like literally run all the way. He was looking right at him, man.
Look, no. From what I saw, Reza told him to stop a little bit earlier, but it just in the moment, you keep running, adrenaline's pumping through your veins. You don't realize what you're doing a lot of the time, and you saw Britsky swear. You saw him throw his bat. You saw him in the highlights, look kind of going, how could this happen to me? So
that instant regret.
It's very annoying when it happens to a batsman, but you're going to see a lot of the great batsmen. It's happened to nearly all of them. If you play long enough, it's going to happen to you.
Yeah. Well, fair enough, man. Look, I am very, very impressed with what I saw tonight from South Africa. And, obviously we'll reconnect tomorrow. And I'm really, really excited to talk about the game tomorrow. I don't give a fuck whether India wins or loses. I want to see a fantastic South African side, just so I can explore these players a little bit more and really see what my favorites so far, Miller and Markram do. And just see where that goes. No, but look, man, let's reconnect tomorrow after we watch the match tonight. And super excited to see what's about to come from both sides. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you for tonight, Shash. Thank you for your time. Thank you to the viewers for listening. Thank you for watching our shorts, subscribing to the channel, following us on TikTok, Instagram, and Shorts. Hitting that like button. Chennai, RCB, CSK fans, let's go. We'll catch you in the next one, guys. Thank you.
Thanks.